Test 1 2 1 2 3. I think we are live. Let me verify if we actually are. All right. Okie dokie. Looks like we're live in 1 minute. Oh, there we go. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Gonna pause it. I don't know if it tells you how many people are tuned in or not. I think we are live. Whoa, we are live. Amazing. Hello. Is anyone out there? Question mark. All right, so welcome. I'm not sure if anyone's tuned in just yet. It doesn't give me any sort of indication of actual life forms. Let's reload. I thought it said the streaming, the amount of people that actually tuned in was listed somewhere. I guess not. All right, I guess I'm broadcasting to myself. Hello. I'll wait a few more minutes because I think it's not exactly 2 p.m. and people like to show up a little bit late, so we'll see what happens. Also, I guess this is going to be archived, so there's no big deal. I find that when I did the original Perl, the regular expression one, only about 30 people were listening, and then it turned into be like 900 views later, so a whole bunch of people checked it out, so it's pretty cool. But yeah. Let me see. I really thought it gave you an indication of how many people are tuned in. All right, well, if you want to ask a question or reach me, if you're watching the stream right now, there seems to be a chat dialogue to the right-hand side. Feel free to say something there, and I'll have a look. I'll monitor it from time to time throughout the broadcast. Let me see. Would this tell me how many people are tuned in? It goes on forever. Okay, 0 viewers. Excellent. So what happened here is basically I had a last-minute schedule conflict and unfortunately couldn't make it. Hopefully everyone got the memo and you all didn't show up because that would have sucked to an empty venue. But welcome to Perl One-Liners. Magic, sorcery. I realize after making all the material for this that you're going to have to either have an understanding of system administration, programming language, or Perl itself, which is also a programming language. I'll try my best to go through it. It's just if you don't know those 3 things I listed, it's probably going to be kind of hard to follow along. But at least you'll get the idea of what you can do with it. This is not a elaborate or involved tutorial whatsoever. It's actually not going to be very long at all. But at least you'll see a glimpse of the magic. It's really cool though. Like you can do things like modify, I don't know, files. So if you had like, if you're a system administrator and you're setting up Apache and you have to set up you have to change all the default settings, you can make a one-liner go in and edit different occurrences of different variables to different things. So it's pretty cool in that sense. Pretty awesome, pretty rad. You can do it to like, say you want to parse logs. So if you're like, once again, a system administrator or a web administrator, and you want to check out how many times a certain IP has been visiting your site, or check out, I guess like say there's an IP address that is visited 1 million times. You want to know about that? You can sort it by how many people, the top 5, I guess, visitors to your website or something. You can do something like that. You can do anything. You can pipe different things. I'm going to be focusing mostly on Unix-based OSs, but it also works on Windows as well. And if you're interested in loading it up for Windows, there's this thing called Strawberry Perl. So you can check this website out, strawberryperl.com. Download it. So all this stuff I'm showing you should work for Windows, no problem. Slight variations in the way files are handled, but the slashes are a bit different. So, but other than that, it should work pretty good. Yeah, so let's see here. Perl one-liners, the magic thereof. Webinar begins, I guess, right now. So as I was saying, pretty much, yeah, I'm going to be focusing on Unix-based OSs. I'm on a Mac, so Mac OS X. And what's a Perl one-liner? It's basically like a program, except it runs on the command line and in one line of code. And the only time you press enter is when you want to run the program. So let's do an example. I'll explain what this stuff means as we go on, but Perl invokes the magic. I'm going to give it an argument or a flag, the E flag, which stands for execute. I have to wrap my programs in single quotes. And we're going to do the classic print, hello world. If you've ever programmed before, it's a classic hello world. So that's a one-liner. Pretty neat, right? Amazing. Tutorial over. No, but okay, even though I said it runs on the command line, I'm not actually going to be making them on the command line. That's confusing. So why am I doing that? I'll explain. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to use an IDE called Code Runner, and I'm going to be making it a shell script. So pretty much it's the same thing. Think of it like Windows, a batch file, but it's easier to add like comments, like this is a comment, right? Does it? Okay. Comment. So it'll be easier for us to diagnose and go through what's going on. But I'll paste it in the command line just to verify, to show you that it can be run on the command line. This magical stuff right here, it's just called a shebang line. And what that is basically it tells the operating system to run this program that we're going to type by passing it to the input of another program. Pretty much that's all that means. And it's basically like Perl has it as well. So all this code that I'm writing in Perl, this is a standard program, by the way. It was the same thing I just ran on the command line, but the traditional way of doing it. It tells it to run it through this interpreter, I suppose. And the shebang line is the first line usually in Linux programs, Linux, Unix-based programs. It doesn't really happen in Windows, but it happens in this environment. So yeah, hopefully you've seen this before. You know what this is. But yeah, that's that. So we're going to do ours as shell scripts just because it's easier for me to cut and paste and do cool things. And that's that. So let me see here. Oh, if you want to have some more info, if you want to read up on this later, it's really cool because in the command line itself, you can just type in something called Perl doc and then Perl run. And then you get the full manual in all its glory. And I'm pressing Control F right now to go down, Control B to go back. And there's all kinds of other commands, but there it is. So if you ever want to read up on it after, once again, Perl doc, Perl run. All right. So just to show you something kind of cool, it's not really cool, but I'll show you. If you type in Perl and just hit enter and don't give it any arguments like I did previously, it just seems to be doing nothing. So basically the Perl, it's waiting right now for you to write a program out. So if I was like print hello world, right? Same idea as before. And I hit enter. Wait a second, nothing happened. What's going on? You're writing out a program, and until you tell the Perl that there's an end of line or end of file, it's just going to keep letting you write out code. And how you give it the end of file is just say Control D. So Control D, boom, hello world. That's not what we're going to be doing. I'm just showing you just in case you happen to hit Perl and you wonder what's going on. Oh my God, I'm stuck. What's happening? Ah! You can also always hit Control and C, and it will quit out of stuff. So that's just so you see what that's going on there. If you want to know what version of Perl you have, you can give it an argument of V, give you some info on the version of Perl. If you want even more goodies, capital V, all kinds of craziness with libraries and things that's installed. So that's just something interesting to keep note of. So what is the basic syntax of this shenanigans? So Perl one-liners look like this. Perl, that's the program. And then we give it flags. A flag is like E, N, P, stuff like that, right? And then we actually have the code, and the code has to be wrapped in, we're going to use these single quotes. So it has to be like that. I'm going to make this a comment so this doesn't interfere with anything we write. I'm just going to check if anyone's actually tuned in or if I'm truly doing this to myself. All right. It looks like there's one person watching. Whoever you are, thank you for tuning in. If you want to ask any questions, you can do so in the chat. If you're tuned in on YouTube, you should be able to see it. So I'll check it periodically. I haven't really gotten anywhere yet, so welcome to the show. And we'll continue. Perl one-liners for the win. All right, so what are we doing here? So yes, Perl flags and code. So what's going on here? What is going on indeed? So the reason why we put this single quotation marks around the code area, this area right here, is it protects it from all the fancy meta characters that the shell environment may pick up. So the shell, this whole thing here, there's a possibility that by putting for a certain combination of characters will trigger certain things. And in order to avoid that, we wrap it in these quotes and it protects the code so your code does not get wonky in any way. So probably the first one that we've seen, it's the E, right? That's the E argument, and that stands for execute. So once again, I'm typing in the same thing that I did at the command line, and I hit run. It says hello world, and we already know this works on the command line. See, hello world, no problem. Pretty amazing. So yeah, so that's the E, okay? So what if you wanted to use single quotes in your code? Because you can't, because you're already using them as the delimiter. Well, there's a really cool function in Perl called Q. So it looks like this. You go Q, and you put something like this around it. You can actually make up the delimiter, and you can go hello world. And that's basically putting, it's the equivalent of single quotes. This is the double quotes. So the Q and QQ, and this can be anything, so long as it's not used within it. And I just broke that by doing that, but I can make it like this if I wanted to, for example. See this? Hello world. Amazing. And to prove that actually works, we can do this and print, and it says hello world. So if you want to use single quotes, just remember this fancy Q function. Usually, if you know PHP or something, you're used to functions looking like this, right? In Perl, you don't really have to use the delimiter. Like if a print, right? Like this is print, but print is supposed to look like this probably. Print hello. So that's probably what you're used to. In Perl, you actually don't have to use the parentheses. It's optional. And this Q function is really cool because it lets you choose your delimiter, which is kind of cool. So Q, hello world, there we go. So that's how you do single quotes. Now, you'll notice that when if I can do a QQ, and I can do, let me just do something here. I'm going to do it N, and I'm going to do print another one in. Hello again, right? I got to do, the statement separator in Perl is the semicolon. This is not really an introduction on Perl. So I'm going to be throwing a lot of stuff at you if you don't know Perl, but some programming languages you may have encountered use the statement separator as a semicolon. That means just everything here is one like statement. Everything here is another statement. That's all that really means. But and this just separates it. Things like Python, they kind of use tabs and spacing as opposed to, that's important. Perl, spacing isn't really important. That's why we can make everything in a one gigantic line. And that's why we can do these fancy one-liners. But okay, so what else? So let me run this right now. So what's going on here? I printed out one statement, hello world. And this is a meta character. I think it's called a diagraph as well. It means basically a new line. And then I printed out hello again. So as you see, hello, new line, hello again. Okay, so we have another fancy one. If we add an L, it's a lowercase L, and it's the line feed option. So what does this do? I can remove the ends now, and it should do the same thing. There you go. So Perl one-liners are all about doing these fancy flags, fancy arguments, and like basically condensing your code and helping you along the way with a lot of shortcuts. You also can write it like this, just so you know. You don't have to combine them. This combining thing is very typical of like Linux commands. You can combine things. One thing you got to know though is the E has to be last because E stands for execute. And I think if you did it the other way around, it won't even work. So let's just see. Other way around, doesn't even work. So put the E last because E is going to execute whatever is in here, I guess, right? So if you put it here, it's not executing anything. It's executing the L. Got it. Okay, so E is the last. Got it. Now, here's the first really, really cool flag. It's the N. And this is where things are going to get crazy. So the N pretty much, it basically wraps a loop around this whole code. Why would you want to do that? We'll go through that shortly, but it looks like this. So that N implicitly implies the following. While diamond operator, open curly brace, close curly brace, and then code in the middle. So what is going on here? So basically, this is a special operator that reads one line of input. And it's usually from basically the standard incoming from the command line. So it reads one line at a time. So it basically can open up a file, read one line at a time, and then you can use code against that one line at a time. That probably makes no sense. I'm going to show it in action just so you get an idea of what's going on. There's actually more to it than this. It's actually something like, it's like this is what's going on. This is a magic variable that Perl kind of makes up. So basically it's one line of input, assign it to this variable, and then you can do things to this variable like print, like that. But in Perl, because Perl likes to have all kinds of shortcuts and things, if you just put print, by default, it will print this magical variable. That's a lot. And it probably makes no sense, but I will show it in action, and then hopefully it will make sense. So I happen to have in this folder, and I will prove that, a file called tester. And that file called tester has test1, test2, test3 in it. So what I can do, I've added this flag at the end. I can type in tester.txt, and it's going to open this file or send this file to Perl, but it's not going to do anything with it just yet, and I'll hit run, and nothing happens. But if I put that print statement, then it's going to print it out. Test1, test2, test3. Because what's going on is this code here has been, this part here and this part here has been added as a wrapper around whatever code that's right here. So if that makes sense, it's pretty cool. That means we can pretty much start doing things to these files, we can manipulate them, we can replace, we can look for certain things. Say I wanted to find only lines that contain the word to. Okay, so I can go print if. This is a postfix style of an if statement. You might be used to if statements like if conditional, can't even spell if conditional, and then curly brace if you're used to programming. But in Perl, you can do them backwards. You don't have to put that stuff. So I can go print if, and I'm going to use a match. This just basically is it's a way to find, it's a regular expression, search or matching. I guess it's an operator. I don't know what it's actually called. It's called the match. Match. There's match and substitute. Huh. Anyway, it's basically, let's just call it a function that that does regular expressions against, in this case scenario, it's by default, it's doing it. This is the full code, what it's actually doing. Whoops. But this is the binding operator, and it's performing a match against the default variables. What's going on here? But in Perl, if it's not defined, you don't have to put all this stuff because it's implied and confusing. Yes, but that is the magic of Perl. So I can do something like to. So it should only print statements now that have this to in it, test2. So already this is pretty cool. I'm going to go check out if there's any questions. There's no questions. All right, so far so good. Let's see here. So basically, this is kind of a cool feature. It's running this loop. I can use it to get each line of text into my program, and I can run these statements to narrow it down to something I'm looking for, which is in this case is the to. And I found this line is the to. This could be, sometimes you want to perform code outside of this loop, right? So you could omit this, and you can actually write the loop yourself, right? You can start doing something like this, and maybe I'll do that just to prove it's the same thing. Like I can include this in it, but then this is kind of getting kind of messy, and it's no longer really, what's the point of making it a one-liner? Why not just write it as a normal program? So what Perl did is they added some really neat stuff, like they've added, for example, a begin and end block, and a block looks like this, begin, and it's end. And as the name implies, it basically runs this code at the beginning and at the end of the program. And it only does it once. Anything going on here is being looped. If I have this thing on, loop, 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 right? But if I go begin, for example, actually, let's do end. If I go end, and I do something like print count equals C. or something like that. I can't use these single quotes, which that's a total mistake. New line like that. And I'm going to go print and C++. Let's see if this even works. And it doesn't because I goofed something up somewhere. What did I goof up? Bare word found where operator expected. Line number 2. Print and C++ if end count C. Let's try it. Let's get rid of this and see. This is actually a good example because it's really tough to diagnose a Perl one-liner. There we go. I didn't put the statement separator. When you're doing a normal programming and there's an error, it can give you the line number of the error. When you're doing a one-liner, it's like, uh-oh, where's my problem? Let's see if this works. Oh, what's going on here? It doesn't like this, eh? Does not like it. So let's see here. Let's get rid of this because that's messy. All right, so print and this if. Let's see here. There we go. That's better. So it took me a while to get that working, but all I was doing here is I was adding a counter. What this is doing here is it's a variable, and I'm incrementing it by 1. So anytime this letter, this word 2 is found, it's going to increment it. So if I basically was like, if I change this to test, it should be 3 because it comes up 3 times, right? Yes. One thing I can do to this is I can add a new line, and then there we go. Oh, that's a mess. Let's not do that. Let's do the new line right here at the end, because there already is new lines. The reason why it was doing that was because the lines coming into the program actually already have new lines in them. So if I print it with an additional new line, it's just basically adding 2 new lines, and that's why it's bumping it down like that. Confusing. And that's where actually this L would come in handy because it's the line feed operator. It does 2 things. It adds new lines, and anything coming in through this diamond operator, it performs a chomp, and a chomp is a function that basically removes new lines. So it's performing 2 little handy tasks. That's the lowercase l, the line feed option. As you can see, it printed them all out, didn't have to add in new lines, did the count. Oh my gosh, I bet whoever's listening right now is very confused. Once again, that's Perl one-liners for you. You're going to have to know a little bit of programming, a little bit about Perl, a little bit about system Linux administration. But once you get all that under your belt, it's highly handy what you can do with it. Let's see here. So I can put all this together and create something kind of interesting. You probably have heard of, if you're into the Linux administration world, you've heard of a command line thing called grep. And what grep does is it basically just filters data. So you go grep, you give it some parameters. You can look for things like, let me just, I don't know, what can I use grep with? Can I go grep tester text? Can I give it, does it work like that? No, it doesn't work like that. So if I do this, if I go cat tester text, that just spits it out. If I pipe it to grep and I go 2, it does the same thing. So this basically, this little handy tool in the Linux world will filter out text for you. And what I did here was a pipe. I'm just redirecting the output of this because, as you can see, it just came on the screen before. I'm redirecting it to grep, and then grep is filtering it, and then grep is only letting the 2 come through. That's what's going on right there. Let's rewrite the grep program as a Perl one-liner. Why? I don't know. Just let's pretend we didn't have grep for some reason. Let's just do it. So how do we do this? So we can go Perl. We need that, yes. We need to give it the N, which creates that handy-dandy kind of loop for us. So it goes through the content, no problem. And then we're going to use the execute. I think we can do that. Add that line break for us. We're going to use the begin because we want to define a variable to begin with. And that variable is going to be, I'll call it regex, because that's basically what this whole grep thing is doing. It's performing a regular expression statement on it. And a regular expression is basically just used to parse unstructured data types. If you're not familiar with what a regular expression is, you can use regular expressions to find certain things. Like here's a really fast regular expression that I just basically found. This is a cut and paste of an HTML document, and I found every instance of where the image tag was used. So regular expressions are for parsing unstructured data. If you're not familiar with that, that's what that's used for. And let's continue. So basically, I'm going to make a variable called regex equal to shift, which is probably really confusing. All that means is, wow, there's so much explanation required at every step of this. This is pretty advanced, actually, this whole Perl one-liner thing. So what I'm actually doing is I'm performing a function called shift. And by default, if I don't give it any variables, it shifts off something off of this thing called argv. And this is an array. So if you don't know what an array is like something that has many elements to it. So it's like argv0 is the first element, argv1 is the second element, that kind of thing. So hopefully you know what I'm talking about. It pretty much is just an array. And shift basically takes whatever is on the top. It destroys it kind of modifies the array by taking it completely out of it. So the reason why I'm doing that, I'll show you in a second, because I'm basically going to be giving this program 2 parameters. I'll show you right now. I'm going to be giving you the regular expression itself, okay? And then I'm going to be giving it the file. So this program is taking 2 parameters. And what's going on here is that it's taking this. Well, it's not taking this. This is just to separate it, to protect it, as I said before. This is taking this information and assigning it to this variable, okay? So there's that. Now we can actually continue. Let's just run it, make sure nothing breaks. Excellent. And now let's run the program. So we can go print. I'm going to use the plus, which just is the last matched, the last group that matched, which I will hopefully make sense in a second. I'm going to match, again, I'm going to match the regex this time, regex. And I'm going to put it in brackets. So it should print nothing. Excellent. Amazing. Amazing. Let's just print. Let's just make sure this is working to begin with. Print. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, this is not going to work. Hold on. This is great that I have these ability to make comments, because now I can paste things. So if I print regex, it should do something, I hope. It doesn't do anything. Everything is broken. Everything is broken. Absolute fail. Yeah. Let's try this. See if this is going to work. Okay, that works at least. So let's try this again. We're going to add this to the top again. And I'm going to add in. Maybe let's do it like that. Do it like that. So this shouldn't break anything. Good. It's still printing. Okay. Now let's print regex. Good. It prints the statement. The reason why it's repeating it because it's doing it every time it goes through. So far, so good. And now we're going to print the last match if this matched. And this should now work properly. Yes, it did. Excellent. And to make it match for everything, that should work. Nope, this should work. I'll explain in a second. Yes, okay, it's working now. Beautiful. Now I can explain it. I love it when you do something live and you didn't really prepare for it very well, and it doesn't work, and you like panic, and then you figure it out, hopefully. So what's going on here? This is confusing. What's happening? I don't understand. No problem. So what we're doing here is let's go through it again. This is where we put our regular expression, or what we're looking for. It can be as simple as saying 1, but then all we'll get back is 1, right? And that's because I'm matching a literal match. If I go something like dot 1, I'm going to get test 1. So you have to know regular expressions for this to make sense, but I'll go through it really quick. This is the anything. This is like a wildcard. It matches anything but a new line. So that's what the dot means by itself with no modifiers. The star means match once. Oh, sorry, match 0 or more times. And this makes it non-greedy. And greedy, non-greedy, I'm not going to get into that, but basically that's what's going on here. And there we go, test 1. Cool. So we recreated with the one-liner grep, which was probably easier just to use grep. But there you go. Kind of cool. Let's try to do something useful. Let's go into the chat. Nobody's saying anything. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So let's do something else. What could we do that's useful? Let's grab a website from the internet and sort out all the images and do a count of that. Why would you want to do that? I don't know, but let's just do it because we have the power now to do that. So there's a handy dandy tool that exists most likely on every Linux system and every Mac OS, and it's called curl. So curl, what it does is it pretty much goes out there, pulls a website, and spits out the code on the screen. It does more than that. You can actually use it even to log in and check your email from the command line, which is pretty cool. But let's see here. I got this website. I don't even know what it's about. It looks like nonsense. Hundreds of GeoCity images organized neatly. Amazing. I'm going to take that link, go to the command line, type in, not Perl, curl. That's the suppress, I think, modifier. All it's doing is it's suppressing, just like it gives information on download and size and all that stuff. It just gets rid of that. And you put this in, and then it should pop up all the code. So the HTML code gets spit on your screen. It's like downloading it without a browser. So that's what your browser sees, but makes it all pretty for you. And we're downloading without a browser. Why are we doing that? Because we want to grab this code, which I've already done, and I've pasted into this handy dandy program called regexrx. And what this is a regex debugger. So I can create now a regular expression to help me make this. It's basically it's a regex visualizer. So let's see here. I want to find where it says source is equals, and then I'm going to capture it with a capture group. This is a pretty sloppy regex. Using these wildcards can be very dangerous, but I'm just going fast, wild, and loose. So pretty much all this is saying, actually, you know what? I'm going to get rid of that. What this is saying is I'm basically saying anything that starts with this image tag, I don't care anything in between. Don't be greedy about it. Find the source. Capture everything that's in the source. Don't be greedy about it. Stop at the quote. Capture everything. Don't be greedy about it. Ends at this angle bracket close. So, and as you can see, it found a bunch of links on the screen. No problem. And now I'm going to build a one-liner that's going to put all this magic together. Let's see here. It's getting messy. Let's go. Let's paste my one-liner in here just so we can have it. And let's get this command that I ran right here. Here's the website. Copy it into my IDE. Hit the run. And nothing happens. Oh, yeah. Let's verify this is even working. Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do this. It's not working all of a sudden. That's magical. Try that again. Oh, yes. Live presentations are amazing. That's better. Code, I don't know what happened there, but we are going to do this again. That's better. Okay, so the URL might have been wrong, but yeah, so here we go. So all it's doing is it's spitting out the code, and as we can see, the code is right here. We're going to pipe the output. So all that output is going to be piped now to Perl. We are going to do a loop, the N loop, right? And we're going to do execute. We're going to put it in quotes, and we're going to look for this regular expression, which is great. So we're going to print last matched capture group if this matched. And there we go. And it's a mess, hot mess, because we didn't add that nice L thing. And there we go. We got all the URLs on that page. That's kind of cool. You could do something like, well, yeah, you could do something like pipe it to wget maybe. Let's see if this actually will work. You know what? That's interesting. Let's see if it does it. Pipe it to wget. Oh, that's not the format of wget. I could figure that out later, but we see option URL. No, it's not good. Do I go xargs? This might work. Oh, it does. Look at that. Cool. So this is a Linux function that takes the output of this and turns it into the arguments for this. And wget, I guess you just, for an argument, if you give it a URL, it tries to download that URL. So what I just created there, totally unplanned, was something that, as you can see, downloaded all of the pictures on that website. And we can actually go in here and have a look. And look at that. We actually got them. Pretty cool. So that's kind of handy. If you're very creative about it, you can come up with all kinds of wacky things you can do. But this was a kind of a handy dandy one-liner that saved a lot of trouble downloading a bunch of files from a website. And you did it in a bunch of commands. And so just because I added a bunch of things here I might not have explained, wget's a program to download files. You can even download entire websites. I can do another tutorial on wget at a later date. Xargs is just a way of, it basically performs that chomp thing and formats the output in a nice way and says it's an argument for this. So it was as if we were typing in wget and then whatever the URL of the image was. That's all that's doing there. So there you go. Pretty neat. Pretty awesome. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Absolutely no questions. Amazing. All right, so that's about it, I think. Oh, we can do one more thing. We can show you how to do inline editing. So this is another useful thing if you're like a system administrator, or if you just want to modify a bunch of text files, and if you want to change anything in those text files, this is how to do it. So here we go. So how this is done is, once again, Perl. We're going to use that tester text that I have in the folder. So we're going to go Perl, and we're going to do this thing called P this time, and another argument called I this time, and we're going to end a dot back to it this time, and we're going to execute. So what is all this new stuff? So what's P? P is pretty much the same as N. It adds this like implicit loop, but it adds one extra little thing. It adds this. And there's a little more to the end of this, but that's pretty much basically what it does. It adds, so once this goes and once this executes, then it continues and runs this all the time. So it runs this added print. So whatever is in this variable by the end of the line, it's going to print it automatically. So instead of actually you typing in print like I have here, it will just do it for you. So that's what the P does. So just so you know. So if you want to get super lazy, you can add the P. But in this case, we're adding the I, which stands for inline edit. So we're actually going to be, instead of printing it to the screen, we're going to be printing it to the file, and the dot back actually will make a backup of the file we want to edit. So if you goof it up, you can go back to the back, and then the traditional E, you have to put it in a new dash just because of how this is formatted for the execute thing, and then you can run it. So we're going to do tester text again, and this time, instead of using the match operator, we're going to use the replacement operator. And you're probably wondering why I'm using these things, because you can create whatever delimiter you want, so long as they're not used in the matching itself. So I think normally it's like this, people use these. You probably see this a lot, but I like using this right here. So let's see here. We want to take, for example, the number 2 and make it 22. Okay, so this should work. We don't see anything because it's not actually printing anything to the screen. It was printing it to the file. So I can create another one-liner. I could just open it up in like a text editor, but let's be all cool and do it as a one-liner and be like NLE, and then we can just go, oops, we can go print, and then I can go tester.text, and there it goes, test22. See, so I actually modified this file without opening it, without doing anything, in a one-liner. And you can do all kinds of complex edits. You can filter data, which ones you want to be. You can have scenarios where I want to replace this with this, or this if that's this. It can get really complicated. You can do amazing things with it. There's a really cool website that you can check out. It's called, let's see here. It's called Command Line Foo, maybe. Yes, it is. And this gives you a whole bunch of nice one-liners. They're not all Perl one-liners, but if you type in Perl, you get a whole bunch of things that Perl is used to make really cool one-liners. Like this one here, the top one, I guess, is check your unread Gmail from the command line. And there's a whole bunch of cool things. So Command Line Foo is the website to check out. And whew, I'm exhausted. Let's take a drink of water. That's pretty much it. I had this listed for like how many hours? I don't have anything listed. Okay, so pretty much we're done. There's nothing more to see here. There's plenty of more to learn, of course, and I highly recommend doing that Perl doc thing, right? That Perl doc, Perl run, I think it was. And it gives you a whole introduction or the whole everything you've ever wanted to know about Perl one-liners. Once again, you probably have to know a little bit about the Perl programming language. You have to know a little about system Linux or system administration itself. You don't have to, but all this stuff helps. Knowledge of other programming languages will help you learn this faster. And yeah, that's the introduction to Perl one-liners. If you have any questions, if there's anybody out there, feel free to post them right here. Any questions? Let me know. Perl one-liners to the rescue. Yeah. They're really useful. What I use them for pretty much is to give it a practical element. Like I use them all the time for when I'm setting up servers and I have a bunch of config files I need to edit. I'll just make a quick one-liner. If I want to count, like you can count certain things, right? What I'll do is I'll do 2 subsequent videos on their own, spend a little more time on them, and I'll do one that you can search your logs and find the top 5 IP addresses. I can do something like that, and I can show you how to create one that if you had like if you were for a class, like say your university or college or high school had like a class calendar going on, I can create one that kind of can pull it from the internet and give it to you in a nice format so you can actually do that. That's kind of cool. I'll make 2 videos about those 2 topics later. But yeah, that's a Perl one-liner. I love them. Hopefully you do too. Once again, you can check out our meetup site. It's meetup.com/techalicious. And if you want, actually, one thing I really need is I need someone who knows Ruby, because we lost the instructor. She could no longer do it at this date. So I need to either find somebody, or I guess I'm learning Ruby myself, and I'm going to be having to teach it, which is probably sounds kind of fun. I'll be under the gun learning Ruby on the fly. I might do that, actually. I might record myself while trying to learn Ruby. So that might be a thing. Another thing to check out would be our YouTube channel. We have a YouTube channel. It's Techalicious. And we have a whole bunch of videos that I'm going to be posting. I have kind of busy, so I haven't posted very many, but I've posted, there's 3 of them up right now. I'm going to either leave this video, The Magic of Perl One-Liners, on the web, or I'm going to redo it a little more polished and re-upload it. So I'm not quite too sure yet, but I'll watch it and see what it looks like, and hopefully it'll be okay. And that's about it. And if you have any questions, you can message me on either the meetup site, and my profile is this one right here with this guy, or you can email me at, let's see here, can I have it write down? Sure, why not? You can email me any questions if you want to help out the group or anything like that at tech@alicious.club. So feel free to contact me there if you need me. And that's about it. All right. Thank you for watching. Just going to check one more time if there's any questions. And I lost it. Where did it go? Here it is. Oh, here we are. Any Linux equivalents to Code Runner or RX you like? Also, is there a reason to prefer Perl over similar languages? Okay, excellent question. All right, so yes, Code Runner. What I use when I'm on a PC, I go to, let me see, what is it called? Portable Apps is a great website. Windows applications don't actually have to be installed with traditional installers. They can run portably. And the only real reason they have those installers is for control. So you can put control and restrictions on things. But there's these really cool things called one-liners. This site, not one-liners, sorry, portable apps. And a lot of them are Linux ports, which is pretty cool. And this one right here, this Genie, is it? Genie Portable, the text editor and basic IDE. So it's kind of similar to Code Runner. It takes a bit of getting like Perl working for it, but once you do, it's pretty good. And you can do basically the same thing. There's another really good regular expression one. It's called regex buddy. Regex buddy. This is a good one. I have this one as well. Unfortunately, though, this does cost money. I think it's like $29. Well, actually, they all cost money. I think Code Runner for the Mac is like $9. Same idea for regex rx. This is like $29. I find PC applications seem to always cost more for some reason. Does the same thing as regex rx though. I use this when I'm on a PC. Yeah, so there's that. What else did you ask? Oh, why do I like Perl? Perl is so cool. Perl has a nice integration with regular expressions, which I really like, and I find them very powerful because I've done things with regular expressions that like just pulling out records, remanipulating data, and it's kind of integrated into the language very well, in my opinion. I really enjoy how you invoke it, how you can manipulate it, and I find other languages, they just seem to be like a side order. You kind of, oh yes, regular expressions, do your thing, go away. Whereas Perl kind of treats it like, okay, it's a part of what we everyday use. We got to use it all the time. It's kind of cool. I don't know. I really like Perl because it reminds me of sorcery. There's a lot of like wacky, like when you're writing out certain things, it can actually look pretty, I feel like a sorcerer. So it's like you're writing out something. It's like, what's going on? It's madness. I don't know. I really like, I just like the language. It really called to me. I know it's not like popular language. Let's just see here. Coding language by popularity. Sure, let's see if there's like a list. Let's see if Perl's even on it. Here we go. Java #1, C, C++, Python, PHP, Perl. Hey, Perl's not as low as I thought it was going to be, but it only has 1%, 2%. Yes! Perl also has this really cool thing called CPAN. Go to Meta CPAN. CPAN is this thing where you can it's like a repository of modules. So anything you can possibly think about is probably here. Like, let's see, image exif, Perl extension library. I think that's that image format metadata thing. I don't know. Let's see here, scraping, web scraping tool. Let's see here, Excel files. So basically what this is basically an archive of modules that people wrote that you can extend your program libraries, and you can add them onto your program, and they're all just sitting here on the web, and you just invoke them by going like CPAN, and you just type the name of the module in. Let me see. I think there's an actual module. Let me see. I don't know if. Let me see. What's one I could download? I think there's one called XXX, but it doesn't. It's not what you think it is. It's to dump debug information. It's like a debugger, but it happens to be called XXX. I don't know why, but it's pretty cool though that they have this like repository that you can just access and just invoke and download things. And I just found it really easy for the workflow. If I got stuck, I'm like, oh, a client or somebody wants to save the output as a Word file. And then I just go on, look for this guy's library, and I just plug it in right away, and it's done. It's, as you see, it's downloading in the background, no problem. So I don't know. I find with programming, if you find a language you like, just go for it, learn it. And then if you want to learn something a little more popular, then do that as well. But for me, I really need to really enjoy it. You know, I was really into Perl, and even though it's not popular as other languages, for me, it was just something that really spoke to me, and mostly for the regular expressions. Regular expressions, that's probably the only reason I even learned programming, is because I just loved it. It's not something that everyone seems to know how to do, and there's a lot of libraries that do things that you don't even need to worry about regular expressions, but I find it gives you a lot of power understanding that, and to be able to manipulate text, parse that data. So that's pretty much the reason why I prefer Perl over other languages. Thanks. These days I'm using CodeLight IDE, which has Clang integration, auto-completion, most C++, but I like to look at other languages like Perl can do here and there. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I just started learning to program about 2.5 years ago. I started with PHP, and then I just fell in love with Perl, and I just found that for what I was doing at my job, I do a lot of, basically I'm a Linux systems administrator, and I use it all the time. I make little programs that do things, notifications, updates. I use one-liners when I have to. One-liners can really impress people when it's like, I need this report, it's due. Oh my God, all this Excel data parsing, and then you just go boom, and it's like, whoa. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, if there's any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, my babbling has come to an end. And that is it. Perl one-liners to the rescue. But yeah, once again, sorry for changing the date of this. I just there's so much going on right now, and it's gonna get quieter for me in the next couple of weeks. So we'll start having normal meetups together. I actually kind of wanted to start doing some sort of online get-together kind of things. I don't know, either using Mumble or some sort of like video conferencing, and then we all can ask questions or do something like that, like tutorials. I was thinking of starting something like that. I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. Maybe people would be interested. I guess I can say one more thing. Sorry, not Geekalicious, this is Techalicious, but there's all kinds of other meetup groups that we run. This website kind of blew up, but alicious.club lists all the different meetup groups that are part of this Alicious family, and you guys are in Techalicious. There's a bunch of other ones that interest you. This is probably our biggest one, Geekalicious, and check it out at alicious.club. Going to check if there's any other questions. Don't see any questions. Well, thank you for watching. If you came in late, because we only got 2 people, don't worry. As soon as I stop the show, it's going to be archived on our YouTube channel, and you can check it out. The same link will still work, so you can watch this video anytime you want. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Meetup, or once again, my email is alicious@alicious.club. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care.